cover about the common mistakes that you might have encountered. The first set of common mistakes are rendering promise object, using link and route components without browser router, providing wrong route path, missing exact keyword. Another set of common mistakes are missing switch, placing common component inside switch, providing the same path for multiple routes, missing colon while providing path parameters. So to understand these common mistakes, let's take a blocks list example. Let's start with the first common mistake, which is rendering promise object. So here you can see within the blocks list component, we are making an API call to fetch the list of blocks to be displayed. So you can see the API call there, get blocks data. So within that, we are making the API call and we are getting the data. Okay. So now where is this method being called? There you can see within the render method. So there you can see within the div element, we have written this dot get blocks data, right? So what are we doing here, right? So we are writing this dot get blocks data within the div element. Get blocks data is a async function, and async function returns a promise object. So if you write it in this manner, you will actually get an error. Okay, there you can see, right? So objects are not valid as a React child object promise. So if you meant to render a collection of children, use an array instead. So this is the error that you might have encountered, right? So here, since the get blocks data is an async function, it will return a promise object. And if we try to render a promise object, we will get an error in this manner because React cannot render the promise object. So what do we have to do? We have to call the API call in the component did mount method, and then we have to update the data in the state, and based on the data we have to render, right? This is the flow that we need to follow. If we try to call the API call in the render method, then we will encounter that error, okay? Because it cannot render, React cannot render the promise object, okay? So with this, we will get the updated output, okay? So this is one common mistake. Let's have a look at another. Using link and route components without the browser router. So let's understand this. Okay. So here you can see that there is header, and then after the header component we have written browser router. Within that we have the switch. So here within the header component we have the link, right? So actually within the browser router we have to make use of the link and the route. So if you don't wrap the link and the route components that you use within the browser router, you will get an error in this manner, saying that you should not use link outside a router. Okay, so basically if you want to use a link component in your application or a route component in your application, you have to wrap it within the browser router. Okay, since we have written the header outside the browser router, we got this error. So now what do we have to do? We have to move the header inside the browser router. Now the link component is inside the browser router, and also the route components are inside the browser router. So we will get our expected output. There you can see, right? So it's important that we enclose, we wrap the link and the route components using a browser router. Okay, clear? So now let's proceed to another common mistake, which is providing the wrong route path. Okay, let's have a look at this. So here you can see that in the app component, while defining the route, we have written the path as /abort. There you can see, right? Whereas in the header, while providing the link, we have provided the path as /about. So here there is a mismatch. So here it is /abort, here it is /about, right? There is a spelling mistake here, right? So here, whenever we click in the header, we click the about in the header. So we are navigating to the path /about. But do we have a route defined for it? No, we have a route defined for /abort. So what will happen? We will not get an expected output, since by clicking on about we are navigating to /about and there is no route defined for it, so the not found component will be rendered, right? So since the not found component is rendered, we are not getting our expected output. So what do we have to do? We have to update the path here, right? Whenever you encounter an issue of this kind, that you are expecting a component to be displayed, but we are getting a not found component or something like that. So then you have to check for the path that you have defined in the link and the path that you have defined in the route. So if there is a mismatch, then you might encounter this error. So what do you have to do? You have to update the path, cross check whether the path that you have defined in the route and the link match or not. So here you can see we have updated it, and now we got the expected output. Okay, so when we click on about, so we get navigated to /about, and there you can see in /about path we have to display the about component, and it's appropriately being displayed. Okay, now let's proceed to the next one. That is missing exact keyword. So while defining the route component, so if you miss the exact, so what will happen? Let's understand about that. So here you can see, so the switch component will render the first available component. Okay, so if you don't write exact, okay, then the route will render even if a sub path of a path matches. Okay, there you can see, right? So if you try to move to /about, so in /about, so slash is matched with the path equal to slash, right? So for path equal to slash is being matched, and the switch component will render the first match, which is blocks list. So for both about, for contacts, for all these paths, what is being displayed? blogs list is being displayed. Instead of about component and instead of contact component, the blogs list is being displayed. So the reason here is that, so the switch will render the first component that matches, and since we haven't provided exact, so a sub part is being matched in slash about, a sub part is slash, so that is being matched. So that's the reason the blogs list is being displayed and the about is not being displayed. Okay, so we have to be careful about whether we have specified the exact keyword or not. Okay, there you can see the issue. Now, if you specify exact, it will appropriately be corrected. So here you can see, right? So if any URL that you access slash abc slash about me, in all of these cases, it matches, a sub part of it matches with the slash. So then for all of these is what will be displayed? Blogs list, right? Because for slash we have mentioned it as blogs list. So what do we have to do? We have to mention the exact keyword. There you can see, right? When you mention the exact keyword, so the sub part will not be matched. The entire path will be matched. So if there is slash about, the entire slash about has to be matched. Only then the about component will be displayed, right? So with that, we will get our expected output. So whenever you are displaying the routes, writing the routes, so be careful about this, okay, whether you have written the exact keyword or not. Okay, so you have also understood about what will happen if you don't specify, right? Okay. So we have covered these set of common mistakes. Firstly, about rendering the promise object, we understood that the React cannot render the promise object. Next, we have seen that if we are using link or route components, we have to wrap them using a browser router, right? Then we have seen about the path, right? The route path. So in the link and in the route, the path that you specify should be exact. Check if there are any spelling mistakes or not. So that is important. And finally, we have seen about the exact keyword. So if we don't specify, we understood what will happen. And if we specify, how it will be appropriate, right? So we have seen about these set of common mistakes. Now let's proceed further to the next set of common mistakes, starting with missing switch. Okay, so now within the browser router, we write the link and the route components, right? If we miss writing a switch, let's understand what will happen. You can see here that we have written the browser router header, right? And there are routes, okay? And we haven't written the switch component, okay? Let's see what will happen, okay? So the switch will render the route that matches the path, right? If the switch is missed, what will happen is the browser will render multiple routes in the single path. Okay, there you can see for slash contact is being displayed and also the not found, and even for the slash, the blogs list is being displayed and also the not found. And there you can see, right, even for the about, that's the case, right? There you can see about component and also the not found. Okay, so multiple routes are being displayed in a single path, right? So here this is because we have missed writing the switch component. Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to enclose the routes within the switch. There you can see we have wrapped the routes with the switch. Now we'll get our expected output. You can see that in the blogs list, we only have got the blogs list and there is no not found component, right? Similarly, in case of about also, right? And also about the contacts. Okay, clear? So if we miss switch, multiple components will be rendered, right? Multiple routes will be rendered in the same path. So we have to check for that. Okay. So now coming to the next one, which is placing common components inside switch. Okay, so here in our scenario, we have header. So header is common for the various routes that we want to display, right? Now what we have done is we have included header within the switch. Then let's understand what will happen. Okay, so here you can see that the switch, if it encounters a common component before the routes, then it will only display the common component. It won't display the route component. There you can see only the header is being displayed and the remaining routes are not being displayed. Okay, there you can see we have trying to access the various routes, and even then you can see that the component is not displayed below, because if the switch encounters a common component, it will only display the common component. It won't display the route components. Okay, clear? So what we have to do is we have to move the header outside the switch. There you can see we have done moving it, and with this we got our expected output. So in home we have the header and also we have the route component, right? So similarly for about and for contacts. Okay, clear? So now coming to the next one, which is providing the same path for multiple routes. So generally when we copy paste, right, we tend to forget updating the path, right? In such scenarios, let's understand what will happen. You can see here that for blogs list, for about, the path is the same. So the same path is being provided for multiple routes. You can see that, right? Slash about, right? So this is generally a common scenario, right? When we try to copy paste and then we forget to change the path. So then what will happen? Let's understand. So here you can see that the same path has been provided for both the routes. So what will happen is the first match component will be displayed. So for slash about, so the first match component is blogs list. So the blogs list is being displayed in case of the path slash about, right? But actually what do we want to display? About, right? So we forgot to update the path of the blocks list, right? So because of that, when we are trying to access the about path, right, we are getting the blocks list because that is the first matched component, the first matched route, right? So that's the issue here. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to appropriately update the path. So for blocks list component, the path should be slash. So if you update it, we will appropriately get the output. So in case of slash, we'll get the blocks list, and in case of about, we got the about component. Okay, now coming to the last one, so which is missing colon while providing the path parameters. So as we previously understood, when we are defining the path, so there is an option of providing path parameters. Like let's say for blocks, we want to access a particular block, so we can specify slash the ID of the block, right? So for that, in the path that we define, we have to specify the path parameter, which is colon ID. If you forget to mention colon, what will happen? So the entire slash block slash ID will be considered as a single path, just like how there is slash block slash about. So slash block slash ID will be considered as another path, not as a path with a path parameter, because for a particular path to be a path parameter, we need to specify colon before that. So if we miss colon, so that will be considered as another path, right? So then obviously we won't get our expected output, right? So to specify the path parameters, the syntax should start with a colon, right? So that is missing. So that's the reason we are not getting our output. So when we try to access slash block slash 2, we will get a not found because we haven't specified the ID as a path parameter. Okay, so that's the issue. So now if we specify colon ID, if we add that colon, so now when we try to access slash block slash 1 or slash 2, you can see that appropriately the block has been displayed. Okay, yeah. So we have looked into these common mistakes too. Okay, so I hope you understood about these. Okay, so you can make use of them, and later on you can even refer them when you're doing various coding practices also. Okay, so thank you and all the best.